would like to introduce Bridget and the aftermath of a social engineering pen test. Are we being ethically responsible? Take it away.
There? Yay! Yay! So, this is gonna be a rough one. I mean, MasterChef was awesome, right, guys? Yay! Yeah, so bear with me. It's been a long time standing on stage. I mean, COVID and all. I'm quite used to Zoom or Teams by now. So if I don't know where to put my hands, that's probably the reason why. At least I don't have my pajama pants on. So winning. So let's start. First of all, who am I? I mean, I got an awesome introduction here. Well, I'll start filling in the gaps. It will be probably a repeat, but as you said, I'm Ragnhild Sageng, or Bridget, as non-Scandinavian people call me, because the name's impossible to pronounce. But he did a good job. I mean, that was good. Applause to him. Awesome. So I've been working with IT since 2007, as he said. I feel not that old, but I might be. But I do not need a walking chair just yet. Close, but not yet. So as they said, I work in Orange Cyber Defense in Norway, and I specialize in social engineering. I decided to go down this path for real after participating in the SecDef contest at Temple University, which was awesome, by the way. Thank you, Dr. Reggae. And after that, I decided, oh, I want to be here. And now I'm here, and it's awesome. So that's who I am. So in short, what we're going to talk about today, I will bullet point it out nicely for you, just in case you fall asleep or not paying attention. So then you know at least what the talk was about. So we're going to start with a bit of short social engineering history just to catch up, and some stories from real life. I'm really sorry, this is really low for me, but there. Yeah. And we're going to continue on into the human psyche on how people respond to social engineering pen tests. And lastly, we will see how we can deal with the humans in the aftermath of this. So let's begin with some history. This will be a history speedrun because we only have like 20 minutes, and we could probably talk about this for hours anyway. So hit me up later or Google. Basically, social engineering has been around since the dawn of times. Ever since the dawn of human civilization, we have used social engineering techniques to connect and to get what we need. There are some notable con artists, such as Frank Ebernagel and Kevin Mitnick, who has been conning their way to a trusting society. And about the last turning of the century, social engineering started to get a foothold in the industry using like the Melissa virus and the I Love You virus, which basically were very persuasive emails sent with attachments that people opened. Well, that was a fun ride. Those who remember. And then about a small decade-ish later, I would say that social engineering pen testing kind of got a foothold in the industry. And I guess that's why I have a job today. So the next slide will begin just diving into everything. The next slide will show a bunch of Twitter extracts that are, well, emotional reactions to phishing. You won't be able to read them all, by the way. You can take a picture of them if you like now to read later on your phone. But it's quite important to see here that people respond emotionally. They respond that in a way, they respond in a way that they feel like they have been scammed. And why is that? I mean, social engineering testings are right? But it's all about how it is put out there. And in these examples, you can see that it's either how they are being responded to when they push that link, or they end up thinking that they get money. Money is a bad idea using as a pretext, by the way. I mean, people fall for it, but they will most likely feel scammed. Everyone taking a picture? Yeah, that's good. And let's face it, it even happens where I work. This is an email extract, which is kind of blurred out, anonymity and all. It is an internal company that has done some phishing exercises for us. And, well, this guy who got this, he had been working day and night on a project. And he was so exhausted. And he was a security professional, by the way. He was so exhausted and he had applied for vacation. And then he got this email. Like, who would not push that link? Like, oh, I'm not getting the vacation I so desperately need. So he pushed this link and it was a fish. And you can all think how he felt like that. This took him on this emotional roller coaster ride of, oh no, I'm not getting the vacation I so desperately need. And instead, he probably got some security training. Woo, he needed more work. So this happened, and it did nothing for his learning experience. All it did was make him feel restless and angry and distressed. So it happens everywhere, even where I work. So moving on from what happens locally, I'm going to tell you 3 stories from out in the big world, from media, and from some fellow pentesters of mine internationally. And the first story I will tell, probably a lot have heard about it, is about Kate Middleton. Back in 2012, she was admitted to hospital, and this Australian radio show decided to prank call to get some information. And they called in, and the nurse who answered, she believed them, and she put the call through. And they ended up broadcasting this on air. And a week later, she killed herself. Now, as Joe Gray says in his book, Social Engineering Penetration Testing, he says that this was not done with the victims in mind. Like, they did not reveal themselves, and they publicly ridiculed them. This is, it's really bad. Let's face it, really, really bad. And it also happens in pen testing where we have the best intentions in mind. Like the second story I'm going to tell you was from a fellow pen tester internationally. He had the best intentions and he made a report. And in that report, he had to write up where he got the ID card. He did some OSINT and he found an ID card online and he replicated it as a part of the test. And he had to document on it. And this was, it was really sad because this guy, he had taken a picture of himself with the ID card and put online. And he had recently lost his father. And the text read somewhere along the line of, finally got the job of my dreams. My father would be so proud of me. And the guy was fired afterwards. There was no more dream job for him. All he worked for, everything. And as a pen tester myself, I can only imagine how that pen tester must have felt when he heard of this. That I would certainly not feel good. And the third story I'm going to tell is from Tinker Secor. And he told me that even when someone is not falling for it, they might actually still end up getting angry. He and a coworker went around doing pen testing at a retail store, several locations. And when he did that, 3 of the 4, they went for it. And the 4th place, the guy they met, he kind of refused to let him in because they said that they were going to do an upgrade of the system before the Christmas season. And he was all like, no, you're not getting in without the corporate announcing that you're arriving. And he didn't budge, no matter what they did. So Tinker decided to say, hey, this was a test, you did good. I want to give you kudos in the report. So can you please have your name, And the guy, you thought that he would be happy, like, oh, I did something right. Instead, he was like, what? You mean I'm not getting an upgrade? I needed this. And he got really mad. I wouldn't expect that on the test myself, but he felt like, you're standing here lying to me straight to my face. I mean, raise your hands, guys. How many like being lied to? Oh, there was one. You like being lied to? Oh, it depends. Yeah, so what should I say? Nice shoes? You like that? Yeah. Oh, well, they're actually quite nice. People should see them. But yeah. So by all of this, I mean, it just happens all along. We try to do our best, and even when people not falling for it, they can get mad. So we're going to look into, why is this? Why do we respond like this? Even when we're not falling for it, when we're falling for it, and it all depends. I'll give you that. So the human psyche, guys, that's a fun topic. I can delve into this for hours, but we'll keep it in short. As we can see from these stories, the blame game is very common, first of all, and it is a protective human response. It has been very discussed that when it comes to scamming, because being fooled like this in social engineering is quite similar to that of being scammed. So does anyone dare raise their hand if they've ever been scammed? Yeah, didn't feel good. I guess. So when we look at that, where they're being duped. Duped is a fun word, by the way. I love the word. It's basically the unpleasant emotional feeling of being taken advantage of. And that's how we also feel during a test, even if it's just a fish that we went for or someone talking to you and you realize that, oh, this wasn't true. We feel like someone has taken advantage of us. And it starts this blame game. I mean, some people will respond to the whole thing by being, oh, I did something wrong. What's wrong with me? What did I do? And they will start blaming themselves. While others, they will get angry, blame everyone else around them just to try and gain some control. And the last part of them will be like, oh, didn't face me. Whatever. And just move along with their lives. And this shame, worst case scenario, this can actually lead to them not saying anything to the corporate if they have like pushed a link, because they're ashamed. I mean, if you're getting scammed, you get ashamed. And if you're afraid that you will be ridiculed or punished in a way, you will definitely not tell, which is bad. I mean, if we go and push a link, we kind of should tell the company we work for so that they can mitigate the issue. So some people are more resilient than others, but we never know who. If I would have sent a fish to all of you, or if I would have tried social engineer all of you, you would all respond differently. If we look at the 3 stories that we heard, we can only relate to how we would feel, and you will probably feel different than the person there in the back. You might be, oh, I didn't care. And next be, oh, that would be terrible. I would just go build a pillow fort. So the key to all this is we are all different and we all respond differently. So how is that when we as social engineers, those who are, there was some, as Thomas had some hands, and how is that when we do something, we never know how people will respond, and when they respond, what to do with that response. And we will come back to that. Now, there are many ways that a social engineering pen test can affect a single individual, a group, or the company as a whole. And one of them is reporting. Sorry, my Norwegian came true. So when the pen tester writes up a report, lack of anonymization can lead to a negative effect. I mean, sometimes we reveal the victims unintentionally, or the situation might call for them to be revealed. But the consequences of that can be severe. Like a third-party vendor can end up losing their contract, or a person might lose their job, or it will just start the blame game. Everyone will be like pointing fingers at each other and no one learns a thing. Like, what's the point? What's the point of doing the test when everyone's just sitting there pointing fingers or feeling like going to their pillow fort or is, I don't know, trashing the kitchen? I mean, it doesn't help. Everyone's sitting there with their emotions and yeah, the test is kind of obsolete. And it is important to see that everyone can fall for a fish. Like everyone here can fall for a fish, no matter if you're professionals in the security field. This mail I got from a former professor, Dr. François Mouton. He told me the story of a conference named ISA, where there was a bunch of security professionals, and as a part of a test, they were all sent an email. All the first authors of research papers were sent an email, and this is the email. And as many as 66% clicked that link. That's a lot. And those were security professionals. So think about how many else would click a link like this. So what do we do? I mean, there's not like, oh, no one's going to fall for it. Everyone can fall for it. And it can actually lead to a lot of people, well, feeling duped. Again, I love that word. So I had to quote Tinker Secor on this because it was really, really important. And I'm going to read it because I did not memorize this. Shh. One individual failing a social engineering test is not an indication of an individual's failure. It is the indication of systemic failure. If one individual fails, everyone else can fail as well. And this is really important because anthropologically speaking, we are meant to be together in packs. We are meant to trust each other. So we strive for that human connection. So we are therefore prone to fail social engineering tests. So we got to put in controls that avoids us as humans to fail. External controls such as swing doors that only let one in at a time, etc. Because we cannot expect everyone to not fail a pen test. Because if we were just being all distrustful, we'll just live in a cold society where no one will trust each other and we'll all look at each other like, no, not today, guys. Go away. I mean, I don't want to live in a world like that. So we still got to test for it, but we also got to prepare controls that will help us avoid people being duped in these kind of tests. And one of the things that we can do to mitigate such issues as the emotional response I've been talking about is debriefing. Now, as Joe Gray says in this book that I previously mentioned, debriefing is an important aspect of the social engineering penetration test, as well as keeping the victims anonymous and leaving out certain details if they're not highly relevant for the report. So debriefing on a company level is an important part of the process. But sometimes it might also be useful to debrief a victim, especially if there was a lot of direct contact. And this is something when I experienced during a physical engagement last year, where I was several hours with someone, and I had the opportunity to talk to them 6 months after, and as part of the research in the aftermath. And one of the people, he was like, oh, it's fine. I was fine. It happened, and I'm over it, like nothing. And the other one, she was like, yeah, I'm a mentally strong person. I didn't blame myself or anything. But in the beginning, I started thinking about it daily. And then it was weekly. And it was once in a while, monthly. And by the time it had gone 6 months, and she was still going back to it from time to time, she didn't let it go. But as she stated, she was mentally strong. And she still got back to it all along. And that kind of, yeah, she didn't get over it. And when we finished that talk together, she felt like she was done. Like, oh, we're done. We talked it out, and I'm all right. Now, this was a test where we were interacting with this person for hours. So it was a very close call. Like, it's not a fish, like it's in a fish, and now we got to have a one-to-one chat. But some people actually do need that as well. We cannot know what a person needs in the aftermath, and this really helped her. It might help someone else. So we need to set the scope on what does each individual need. I mean, for large tests, that is something I'm gonna come back to that later, but we need to think about the individuals in tests, especially the physical ones, because those can get pretty rough afterwards. And as I'm going to show you now, yes, I have played way too much of The Sims. Any Sims player here? Anyone? Oh, there's a few. No guys. Where's the guys playing The Sims? Oh, thanks. I'm happy. Oh, there were more people now. Hey. So, yeah, I was sitting late up at night making this Snapchat filter. So let's just say when we meet someone new, when I meet you, for example, we start off at basically 0-ish. It depends. I mean, some of us start a bit to the plus side, to the minus side, depending on how we look at each other initially. But let's say it's 0. We start at 0, and when a social engineer builds rapport, it goes really fast up on the plus side. That's the green side, by the way. It goes up really fast, and people will share things. They will share things about your life. They will connect with you, because as humans, we connect really fast. And especially when someone is building rapport, because we're using all of these persuasion techniques. So we just connect, and it goes up fast. And they tell them tidbits about their lives, and then they get a call like, oh, it was a test. This person came in there and it was a test. And that bar just down to the red side. Like, how would you feel having a person on the red side of this? Even if it was just someone you met one day, some people would be like, oh, well, yeah, I won't swear, but yeah, well, F them, and then walk away. But some people will be like, oh, they have this relationship on the red side, and it will be like either they bear a grudge or they feel like something's incomplete. So what I'm thinking of when I said that someone needs debriefing one-to-one, and when I spoke to this girl, I felt that while she was also getting over it and it was all talked about, we also got our relationship level back to 0. We reset the relationship. And I think that was really good. It was good for her. It was good for me as a pen tester. I'm one of those who actually like feeling that I'm good with people. Like, oh, we're okay. Even if it's just someone I met just once. So it's all about getting that reset. Like, oh, I feel okay. Because that will give you calm. I mean, you can go like 2 years and then you will end up being, oh, that person felt negatively about me and that they bear a grudge and it affects them daily. That can also happen during a social engineering test. They can feel like, oh, this is bad. So I divulged more into this, like, oh, but what can we do about this? I mean, how can we, as a pen tester, I cannot go and ask the company all day long, like, oh, I want to have chats with everyone. Well, you can, but you got to have the processes around this. So I spoke to an experienced HR person called Siri Haug. She's Norwegian by the name of it. So, and she said to me that, and I had to quote this as well, that conducting a social engineering pen test for a company should not be up to the IT security department or a single individual. It should involve a greater network that may consist of HR and other personnel that can support and watch the mental status of the employees affected. There should be measures in place at the company to take care of the emotional reactions of the ones who have fallen victim to a test, as well as clear guidelines on how to follow up based on their response. Because everyone, this is important to everyone listening. HR is an asset, and HR should be consulted by the company before they do the pen test. They should actually talk to them so that they can make remediation plans so that they can take care of every individual that is affected. Because let's face it, we're not robots. Everyone has someone in the company that will be affected by a test. They should have a place to go to if they need to talk. There should be some mitigation strategies that the company has for themselves. And this is it. Like, who is responsible? It's a collaborative effort. We should all take care of the people involved. Is it a testers, the pen testers, the company, or the HR? Well, I say everyone, basically. Everyone should take care of it, and we should make processes and procedures. And well, it's really important because if there's bad follow-up, there's a bad learning experience. And everyone loses if the aftermath is handled badly. And well, I'll close it off here, but this topic needs further discussion in the community. And I think that we should talk more about it because there is no unified solution to this. We should all talk about it and actually get to see how can we do this, how can we evolve. And I'll close off with a really, really important tidbit. If there's anyone pen tester here, as a pen tester company, you're allowed to say no to conduct a pen test if you feel it's not ethically responsible to do. If you feel the company will not take care of their employees, say no. The money is not worth it. So we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. This is my reference wall of fame. Take a picture, please, because these people, good people, there's just some of them. There are many, many more. But there are these lovely people I was speaking to, and some books to devour, if you like, and some links to go down the rabbit hole. So, everyone taking a picture? This is my Twitter handle, LinkedIn handle, if you want to chat with me. Otherwise, I will be here later on. And that's it. Thank you for listening, guys.